Hi guys, my name is Kylie and today I'm going to do my December wrap-up video. And I read a lot of books this month, so I'm just going to get straight into it. I was going to do a top 17 books of 2017, but then when I was going through all of them, I realized that I had given my mom most of my favorite books for the year to read, and she is way behind on my recommendations, so I don't have most of them. So instead, I'm just going to do my December wrap-up. So the first book that I finished this month was Surviving the Angel of Death, the story of a Mengele twin in Auschwitz, which I don't have a physical copy of because I got the ebook from Overdrive, but I will insert a picture of it if I can figure out how to do that. And it was just the true story of this lady named Eva who, when she was a child, was taken to Auschwitz, and she had a twin, so they were taken in for study by the doctor, Joseph Mengele, who was practicing on twins and trying to do just very messed up things with them. And it's just her story of how her and her family went in, how her and her sister survived, and just what she's up to now. It's very good, very, very sad, but I think the Holocaust books are so important, and I would definitely recommend reading it if you're interested in reading about things like that. The next book that I read this month I also don't have because I borrowed it from my mom, but it's Voyager by Diana Gabaldon. It's the third book in the Outlander series, which I can't really give you a synopsis on the third one without spoiling the first two. But if you haven't heard of Outlander, it's about this lady named Claire who goes back in time accidentally and finds herself in Scotland, and it's just her adventures through Scotland in, I think, the 1700s, and all of the books just follow her journey, and I would definitely recommend reading it. It's so good. They're really big books though, but they're so exciting and easy to get through that I would not let the size intimidate you. The next book I finished this month was The Young Elites by Marie Lu, and this book followed a girl named Adelina, and she finds out that she's got this power that she was given through this fever that swept over the land, and everybody who had the fever is now hated by the government, and they're basically trying to kill everybody with any power. So it's just about how she finds other people with power and her story from there. It was so good. I haven't read the next books in the series yet, but I'm super excited to pick those ones up. Marie Lu's writing style is just awesome, and they're so easy to get through and exciting, and I really, really liked that one. The next book that I read this month is Moxie by Jennifer Matthew. It follows a girl named Vivian Carter who is going to a high school in Texas, and it's a very sexist high school where there is just sickening male privilege, and everybody's so obsessed with football that the football players get away with everything. And I would like to say that it's over-exaggerated, but from my experience in high schools in America, they are very sexist, and even when I went to hair school, there was all girls and 3 men, and all of the owners of the school were female. And still, my brother, who's in school there now, got so much more privilege than the women there, which is just insane because, you know, it's a school run by girls in a female-dominated profession, and he would still get the privilege. So unfortunately, I think that it's an important and very correct read. I would definitely recommend it. The next book that I read this month was Kill the Boy Band by Goldie Moldavsky. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. This book was okay. It was about these fangirls who were just obsessed with this boy band named the Ruperts, and they end up kidnapping one of the members of the boy band, and it gets pretty dark, but I would recommend it if you have ever been in a huge fandom. I was a huge fan of One Direction, and if they were still together, I would still be a huge fan of theirs. But I think that she definitely got the idea of the fandom and the teenage girls very accurately. I think that a lot of those girls would do anything to get into contact with some of their favorite boy band members, so it's definitely an interesting read. The next book that I read this month is What I Lost by Alexandra Ballard, and this was actually going to be on my favorite books of 2017 list that I decided not to make. But this one follows a girl named Elizabeth through her journey in rehab for an eating disorder. She's got anorexia. Most of the girls in the rehab center do have anorexia, so there's not a huge amount of diversity for the eating disorders, but it's definitely very good representation for anorexia from what I've heard. Everything that I studied on, definitely the medical accuracy was very good. Most mental health books, I feel like, end right when you get to the recovery part of it. But this one follows her through her recovery, and then it kind of ends abruptly where you don't so much see what happens after her recovery. I would also have liked to see what happened to the other girls in the rehab center, but they don't really give you an epilogue at all. So I would kind of like almost a second book explaining what happens to everybody, but I don't know if that's gonna happen, so I'll just be happy with the ending that she gave me. The next book that I read is Poisson Study by Maria V. Schneider, and this was another one that I was going to put on my top books of 2017. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. This one is about a girl named Yelena who is about to be executed for a murder that she committed. And instead of execution, they gave her a choice between whether she would like to be executed or if she would like to become the commander's food taster. And being the commander's food taster is a dangerous job because she's tasting the foods for poison, but obviously she chooses food tasting over being hung or whatever they were going to do to her. So right away, it even says so on the back, so it's not a spoiler so much, but she is given a poison that she's going to need to get an antidote for every single morning, or else she will die in like 24 hours or something, which is how they keep her there and make sure that she doesn't try and run away. So it's a very interesting book about Yelena and how she has to try to escape despite this poison that she's been given, or make the decision to stay there forever. And just a second, I forgot to grab the next book that I read this month. The next book that I read this month is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, and I never had any interest in reading this book. I read Fangirl and I read Eleanor and Park, and I liked both of them. But for some reason this one just never caught my eye. I was unaware until earlier this year that it was about magic and almost like a Harry Potter spin-off sort of thing, and when I heard that I was super excited and couldn't wait to pick it up, so I finally finished it this month and I really liked it. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was definitely entertaining and I finished it really quickly, but when I went into it expecting Harry Potter, obviously I was a little bit disappointed just because nothing really compares to Harry Potter. No matter how hard I try, I can't find anything that's quite up to par with the Harry Potter books, in my personal opinion. But it was definitely a good read. The story is actually the fan fiction that Kath writes in Fangirl, or I don't know if it's supposed to be her fan fiction or just what her fan fiction is based off of, but it's kind of cool. The two are connected. You don't have to read one to read the other. They're totally separate, but if you've read Fangirl, that's just something kind of interesting. If you're ever curious about what the story is that she's so obsessed with, this is it. And the last book that I read this month I also don't have because I listened to it on Overdrive as an audiobook, but it was Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason, the second Bridget Jones diary book, and I will insert a picture of it if I can figure out how to do that, but it was entertaining. If you've ever read any of the Confessions of a Shopaholic books or anything like that, that's kind of what it puts me in mind of. It's just kind of a silly, lighthearted almost beachy read. You don't really have to pay super close attention because nothing super exciting happens, but it's definitely a fun book anyways. So those are all the books that I've read this month. I read 9 books this month, so I would say that that's pretty good, and I enjoyed every single one of them, so I definitely can't complain about that. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've ever read any of these books that I mentioned today and what recommendations you would give me based on the ones that I did read and enjoy. And I will see you next time. Bye!